It's a Prowled live after High Point beats NJIT 89-72 tonight inside the Bain Center. Prowled live brought to you by Foster Hobbs Coffee Roasters in High Point, fosterhobbs.com for their beautiful selection, especially this time of year, of what would make some really great gifts. Their Christmas blend, very good. I'm still hanging out with some hazelnut most of the time. Drink it iced every single day, and it's fantastic stuff. So like I said, give them a visit, fosterhobbs.com. Plus, go and see Mike and Pam at their roastery in High Point off Johnson Street. Tonight, as I mentioned, High Point wins 89-72, bouncing back after what was a difficult loss just a couple of nights ago. And I think that is the main takeaway, honestly, is to just not repeat. The crowd was a little bit better tonight, although I gave it a lot of hard time for the student section in a most recent Proud Panthers podcast. I still feel as if that we need to do our part as much as possible as fans, and I'll forever feel that way because I know how important it is in college basketball to really carry a team that way sometimes. And that's the beauty of having a home court advantage. But what I wanted to mention right off the top from that is that Coach Clayman, after the game, his first comments with the portion of media time that the High Point Panthers athletic department will, I'm sure, post, he was very complimentary of having the fans there tonight, including the students, because after they're coming off of a loss, he realized the weather today was not the best out, although it really wasn't that bad like a lot of local news would have you think it would be. He gave compliments to the students and to the fans and appreciated them showing out tonight in the way that they did. I also think, though, that this game wasn't the most pretty of contests, just to be fair. Why I mention that right now after talking about the fans and trying to do our part to really pep the team up, give them emotional support and energy, is to say that tonight at times it would be hard to really get into that rhythm. I felt like the team, while still winning by 17 points. So, I'm not here complaining. I'm just saying there were stretches of the game that you could argue and say it wasn't a pretty win, but it was, again, putting a ribbon, I feel like, on this session of the season. And I talked with Coach Clayman after the game. He shared words with me that I should already mention. You'll have to wait to hear. But he just said a good way of looking at it is this is kind of the first section of the season now coming to a close. These guys have finals week, I should say, coming up here this coming week, Monday through Friday. They'll be taking exams and doing all that kind of stuff in the midst of practicing and getting set for App State. So he felt like for what we have, this first closure of the season, 8-2 being the record, all of our 8 wins have been by double-digit points. It's a good chance to reevaluate, of course, and get to the film and do some of that, he acknowledged, but you can't complain too much just given those circumstances. Now, I will also tease that I asked Coach Clayman about the way the defense has been playing the past 2 games, feeling as if there have been a lot of 3-point shots attempted by both foes, Southern Illinois, and then again tonight against NJIT. Both teams really tried their hardest to make use of the 3-point shots. And we talked a lot about how the Salukis were terrible in that category coming into that game. And then they actually made us pay with some very out of their ordinary, impressive shooting. And so he'll have answers on that as well. And I say all of these teases because I'm up against a big day for Prowled Sports, for myself tomorrow morning. We are going to have our very own radio program within the Triad. It's something you can also listen to if you're from out of the area online, and we'll have podcasts of it, and we'll continue to build that out, just like we have done other things with this podcast, the Proud Panthers podcast, I should say, and the website over at prowledsports.com. But on that radio show, I want to highlight High Point basketball, and I want to share my fanhood with the rest of the Triad area and any of those that do listen online. And part of that is to play our interview time with Coach Clayman that he was kind enough to share with us tonight. So if you are intrigued and want to hear those words, they will be coming up at a later time on the Proud Panthers podcast. That would be on Monday. So if you really want the real skinny of what he said and the preview ahead of what that podcast will have a portion of, then I would encourage you to listen to Waking Up Proud. That's with me again in the morning, 9 to 11 on WSJS. And you can find that on WSJS.com, plus 4 other FM signals throughout the High Point, Greensboro, and Winston areas. So I really hope you'll join me there. It'll be a great show. Part of it is about High Point basketball, but we'll get into other topics as well, and we'll be taking calls and all that fun stuff. So it'll be exciting. Tonight with this victory, the game plan of really playing with more emotion and more passion, if that was something that you are like me and desired out of this team, I would not feel that wholeheartedly. But what I would say is that this game in the second half was sliding to an all too familiar place that we just saw against Southern Illinois a couple nights before. In the second half, the lead that we had got whittled down some to, I believe, the smallest that it got was around 9 points. And in that stretch, you could see that there were mistakes made and some things were happening. Coach Clayman acknowledged that after the game. And so I feel like the victory here really is that we didn't let it take that full slide and that we did close the game, because that does matter. Tonight, Rob Martin was a big part of that. The way he played in the second half was very good, taking some difficult shots at times, but still capitalizing. I thought that Braden Hassan had a very good game. Those two joined Coach Clayman with the other media members after the game, but even still, I would have mentioned them irregardless. I felt like Braden has a talent level that hasn't fully been flexed yet for all to see. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that we've been such a deep and talented team in both the seasons that he's been a High Point Panther. Last year, he had guys that were older and were in front of him. Same case again this season, honestly. But he is doing things that is still preparing his game to be ready when the team calls on him, like we did tonight. And I saw that mostly in how he worked out and how he transformed his body from last season into now. I believe he's got a little bit more mobility. that allows him to be a little bit more active. But the activity and the mobility, those aren't things that honestly catch me as impressed and as a fan of his game. Honestly, it's things that may go more unnoticed, and that is that he's very intelligent for the game of basketball. He's in the right spots a lot of times, and that comes with rebounding. There's a lot of times tonight where I felt he had some great box outs that allowed some other people to come in and maybe get the actual rebound just by being in the right place. I did see him as well showcase his point guard abilities from his high school game. In high school, he had shared with us at Prowled Sports that he had played a lot of point guard, his dad being his coach in high school. And tonight there was one play that really was a great look, and that was when J.I. was underneath the basket. Of course, Braden's shot being a threat from deep drew a lot of the NJIT defenders his direction. And instead of unleashing one that he did have a step on, he made a great skip looking pass underneath the basket to J.I. for a dunk. And so those type of heady plays, intelligent aspects to his game, they're very good. And I hope that we find places like this for him to slide in there and continue to flex how good his talent ability is. And I said that while Coach Clayman opened his press conference talking about the fans and talking about the student support, he had a pretty strong statement about Braden Hassan and him being really what the High Point University basketball program is all about. And I thought that was really cool, passionate comment from the head coach. And like I said, I would encourage you to go look at that once High Point Panthers athletic department or highpointpanthers.com puts those comments up. Terry Anderson, again, continues to do things that are a complete reversal from last season, and the amount of ways that I'm proud of him are hard to be fresh with and say different things about. And I actually spoke with him after the game just to share with him on a personal level how impressed and how proud, honestly, I am of him for how far of a way that he has come. But like I said, this game tonight for me was never about the opponent necessarily. It was never about even what the point margin ended up being at the end of the game. I know it was higher than this. I know towards the end of the game that we're trying to close it out. And sometimes that can get, for a fan, that can get a little frustrating. I'll give you a quick little take on that. It's hard to watch the team slow pace, dribble the clock out, and take shots at a 3 to no seconds left on a shot clock that are probably not the best capitalized look of the century. I would just say that for 3 straight possessions, we ended up finding Cam Fletcher in the corner, taking a corner 3 with no seconds left on the clock just by burning things down. And I don't think he made any of those that I recall. And that can be frustrating as a fan. We're looking at this and we're saying, well, we were up by 20 some points. You know, what's happening here? We're dribbling the ball out instead of just keeping the flow going and continuing to just go boom, 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 boom. Another aspect to it, and this speaks to the intelligence that is on that staff over there. We came out of the under 4 timeout with a press. Why are we pressing this late in the game? And it wasn't really a press. It was more of a pressure, full court pressure, because that slowed NJIT's time bringing the ball up the floor. It made them take additional minutes and seconds off of the clock. So all those things are us just closing out a game that is a win in the win column. And everybody likes it to be flashy. Everybody wants it to be just a dominant win. And like I had opened by saying, I don't think this win tonight was necessarily pretty or glamorous to begin with. But those things helped us close it out. So that, to me, was more important, just like turning the page is more important off of what we had earlier this week. Being able to take the 9 points that it got to in the second half and extend that out to 20, 21 points before, like I said, NJIT went on a bit of a run to end the game. That was something good to see based off of what we had seen just a couple of nights before. So you have to take those things and you have to say, okay, that's what we're looking for, not necessarily, okay, how it really got there. But this is again, also, mind you, coming just 2 games from when we last played, and that's not an easy thing. But I know Coach Klayman did that, or I think he probably put that on our schedule that way, because that will be what we see once we get into some Big South Conference play with some of the new scheduling and new games being on Thursdays as opposed to just Wednesday and Saturday as it has been in prior seasons. Tonight, like I said, High Point does get the win, 89-72. Excited to be able to talk more and more about this game on Waking Up Proud tomorrow morning, which means that yours truly takes an earlier exit tonight, gets some rest so I can be back at things. But like I said, tons for you to be a part of in the next coming days. If you have questions, if you have thoughts, I'd love to hear them on Waking Up Proud. But I would also say you can email them anytime to Steven@prowledsports.com, and we'll talk about them on the podcast, Proud Panthers Podcast. That'll be out on Monday, and we look forward to you joining us then.